Welcome back to the podcast channel. It's been an incredible week if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Of course, I was in Bilbao for the experience, and you have to bear with me today because I'm absolutely shattered. I only got back last night, and it's just been an incredible experience. But I'm paying the price for it now. I'm shattered on. But we're going to be speaking about Spurs, Man United, the Europa League final, what it means to Spurs, what it now means for Man United. We're going to be looking ahead to the final weekend of the Premier League season. We'll look at all 10 games. There are some games that are really, really important in the race for Europe, so we'll be discussing those as well. Before we go, we will speak about some of the early transfer stories that are emerging. Liverpool at the moment seem to be a team that are really, really serious in this market. I don't know, Owen's very excited to talk about that at the end of the show. So, Owen, brilliant for Spurs, probably brilliant for football as well. We've seen Crystal Palace, we've seen Newcastle, we've seen Spurs all have their big moments. Um, and I have to say, I've been quite critical of the Premier League this season in terms of the standard. But what's made up for the standard, I think we've seen three really special moments in
Yeah.
Newcastle, Palace, and Spurs, and we're going to see an even probably more special moment tomorrow and on Monday when Liverpool celebrate lifting the trophy. So it's been a season of celebration for teams maybe that aren't used to having these moments.
I and know what as a I'm delighted for Spurs just as I said to you just to get that monkey off their back, and for me anyway it makes it even better that he's beat Man United because I never want to see them win anything. So no, and we spoke about it before we came on. No, it wasn't the best of games that you'll ever watch, but uh, most finals aren't, to be honest. I mind the Liverpool Spurs one a few years ago wasn't great to watch either. So must be a thing with Spanish finals. I don't know, but uh, no, it was a great moment for Spurs fans, and as you'll say, it just looked like a sea of white, as you said. Like what you were there, it was over what 200,000 Spurs fans or something. You said,
Well, I don't know if there was that many in Bilbao, but there was 220,000 roughly yesterday at the parade. I'm not sure how many thousand it was in Bilbao, but it did read that Spurs outnumbered Man United 15 to 2. So for every two Man United fans, there was 15 Spurs fans. So,
you would
I
expect
mean,
that you would have expected that to be the other way about, wouldn't you? Because of the size of the
yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there had to be some reason why because United have a big fan base, but maybe they just didn't believe in the team. They've been disgusted with the team, but I just think for Spurs because I'll say that we've had a European final um, in 2019 as well, so it's not like it's the first time we haven't been in one. Recently, obviously this was the Europa League, but we were in Madrid, of course, in 2019. But I just think that Spurs were so desperate they won that every man and his dog was trying to get to Bilbao. I spoke to people that went in camper vans, slept in carpets,
uh,
just incredible. Just they do anything to get to Bilbao. We seen the videos of people lying in hotel sofas because there was just no rooms for anywhere. These people to stay, but like I met some like really really good people. Obviously, I done some work for local radio and BBC Five Live, and I done some Spanish media out there. So just the actual experience of it all. Um, if Spurs had lost the game, I still would have remembered it as a really, really good
it makes
experience.
it
But
better that you.
I would have been disappointed with the game. But the fact that Spurs won it, it just made everything so much more enjoyable. I mean, we loved it. All the Spurs fans was in that Spurs chat podcast that went, the likes of me and Chris and Josh and Chris's dad, Chris's son Harry and his friend, his dad. Melvin, there were so many of us there together, and like we're probably closer now than ever in terms of the experience that we had and we enjoyed out there. Um, but it is an exhausting experience. If anyone that's never been to a European final, honestly, it is just there's no time for sleeping. It's just enjoy, sing, drink plenty of alcohol if you're interested in alcohol.
Mhm.
And if you're not interested in alcohol, even some of the people that was with us that weren't having any alcohol still had an unbelievable time as well. But
Yeah.
everyone's just really tired today. I mean, they're exhausted. I mean, I didn't have the pleasure of going to the parade yesterday, Owen, but I know the boys that went to the parade yesterday too as well. So everyone today is just exhausted.
It's even like I know it's not the same because I like, but it's that excitement and the nerves and everything building up to it. Like you're excited about it, you're nervous about the game, and then it's just that outpouring of emotion when you actually do win. because as we all know, it's been what, well, not now, but it was 17 years since Spurs won a trophy. So I saw a thing Sky Sports put up. It was all Spurs have now won the most recent out of the Big Six. I was like, oh, shut up. Like a day,
um,
but
we often speak about teams that find ways they win and teams that find ways they lose. And Spurs have kind of been a team that's you've associated with they find ways they lose games even when maybe they shouldn't.
mm,
They went about it a completely different way in this final and changed these tactics, and we'll come on to speak about that in a bit. But I mean, in terms of the scenes in Bilbao, the amount of Spurs fans that were there, the parade yesterday. I don't like. I've had some people say to me they didn't realize there was that many Spurs fans out there, and when you see that and you seen the players yesterday embracing it, and that connection with the fans that's been missing. Ange Postecoglou was shouting, "Season 3 is going to be even better than season 2." I'm not sure about that one, but I did doubt him about winning this season as well. So he can prove me wrong again. But I mean, do you almost feel like that can put Spurs back on the map in terms of how they're viewed amongst the other European teams, and fans around the world watching those scenes will be going, that's where's all these Spurs fans come out of?
I like, but Spurs aren't a tiny club. Like they're a big club in their own right. Yes, they're not as big as Liverpool, United, Madrid, and all that, but they're a big club in their own right. And they shouldn't. There's no way a team like Spurs should be waiting 17 years to win a trophy. It just shouldn't be happening. But maybe now, as you say, this could be what they're saying. They could come like London buses. So you never know. Really. And you have a Super Cup final against PSG or Inter Milan. They look forward to. So that could be another
Well,
one. But
that's one of the discussions in the group chat at the moment is when are we booking the flights for that. So I don't know if I'm going to be going to that, but we'll see. Definitely
where's that on?
Udinese,
All right.
but
I'm,
there
I
is
mean,
conversations going on about that, so possibly
I
could be
mind
going there as well.
the one a few years ago was actually in Belfast, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chelsea were playing on it, weren't
uh, but no, it could be one of those moments like it seems to be once you won something and it's like getting that now Spurs don't have to have that tag of aha you haven't won anything. So that's a
Oh,
done,
and
so
oh, and I have to say, one of the funniest things I've seen all week, well, since Wednesday night really, was Arsenal fans trying to tell Spurs fans how they celebrate winning a European trophy when they've never actually won a European trophy. you know, I mean, if Spurs is going to celebrate, of course. It's 41 years since they won a European trophy. It's 17 years since they won any trophy. But for a club, who are a big club that has never won a European trophy, once you experience a European trophy, you can then tell us what we celebrate. But for now, you just
did
have
you
to let
not
Spurs enjoy the moment.
oh you do, yeah, did you not hear what Arteta said? He said I don't like comparing our teams, and I went hang on a minute, you've been spending all year comparing Liverpool to Arsenal. So I don't
Yeah.
know what is that, but
Owen,
um
Owen,
it's
one of the big talking points about Spurs this season has been Ange Postecoglou, the tactics, the statements, the interviews he's done. It seems every week that he's had, he's kind of, I wouldn't say he kind of has box office in a way, because sort of one week he's saying these things where, people are laughing, and then the next week he's getting angry. And it's kind of been that kind of season for him, ever since probably he came to Spurs, them first sort of 10 games, we've seen an Ange Postecoglou who, had the media in the palm of his hand. Whereas, you go through like the last 10 weeks of the season there, the last few months, Ange has kind of been fighting with the media a lot. But he did say that he was going to deliver a trophy at Spurs in his second season. He says he's always believed it, and he doesn't say things that he doesn't believe. I mean, where does this rank in terms of the kind of moments in football? We think about the Kevin Keegan. I will love it if we beat them. And there's been many moments through Premier League history or involving Premier League teams. And you think about this one. I mean,
or
this
Gerard
this
or
is never going to be
or
forgotten about. I don't think Ange's statement.
or when Gerard said this does not slip down, and then
Yeah,
but no,
absolutely
it is.
incredible. Oh, and I'm going to
It's
stop
gonna
you
be
there because we've got a very special guest joining us here. We've got Spurs fan Keelan that's going to come on for the next 10 minutes or so. they speak about what it means to him being a Spurs fan. You know, how he's seen the game the other night, and what it means for the future of Spurs and Ange Postecoglou. So he's joining us at a perfect time. And Caelan, make sure when you come on to shout out your new Instagram channel as well. I'm sure people will be looking to hear that. You've done a really good interview today as well. So Caelan, welcome to the channel, son. How are you?
Good, I am. How are you? Good?
All good.
Well, yeah, my Instagram page is
all good, Caelan. Tell us.
Yes, being a Spurs fan is pretty good.
Tell us what it was like on Wednesday night watching the game. Like, how nervous were you before the game?
Jeepers, up and rolling off the seat. It was just really madness, really. Just Mickey Van de Ven all around. I was really, really happy when that final whistle went. Going around the street, going bonkers, great. So yeah, it meant a lot to me.
What was it like? Yeah, what was it like going to school on Thursday morning as a proud Spurs fan?
Oh, it's great. Just up and down. I know we haven't had a great season, but still being a proud Spurs fan is very, very special, and for the team is very, very good too. So yeah, I'm happy to be a Spurs fan too.
Yeah. I suppose we were chatting about Ange Postecoglou there, so we'll let Caelan have a say.
Yep.
What do you think should happen with Ange now, Caelan? Because you did say it was a disappointing league season, but they have won a European trophy, and they are in the Champions League next season.
Yeah, I think I will keep him, but he was on risk if they didn't win it. But I think he's just kept his job. I think for a season or two with Daniel Levy, he'll stay as well. So I think the Spurs fans will be happy, and I don't think they'll criticism Postecoglou and Levy as much as they did before the Europa League final.
Yeah. How big of a summer do you think it is for Spurs and Daniel Levy? Because you know one of the complaints from Spurs fans, obviously, like you said, was the trophies. But now we've got a trophy. The other one is they say we don't sign enough top players. Do you think now that's the target for Spurs? They get in some experienced top players. They help these young players that we have that are quite good, like Bergville. And Archie Gray and players that are coming. Do we need to sign those experienced top players now? They kind of get to the next level.
Yeah, well, I think a wee bit of experience to show the team what is needed. To show more encourage as what maybe the youngsters couldn't do. Maybe more experienced players could be more of a leader to the team. But yeah, I think just above that 25-year-old mark, that might be a good shout for Spurs this summer.
Is there like one player in your head that you would love to see come on the Spurs in the summer window?
Not from my head, but Real Betis Cardoso. That's the only player I think he's been linked with Spurs, but that's the only player really for the CDM spot.
Is that the one you've already signed? I think, is it?
Cardoso.
I think
they've agreed like a deal, but it's still they've agreed like a pre-deal thing, but Cardoso still won't make the final decision.
Well, otherwise, I like to go for like a defender sort of, but I'm not sure who I'd pick, to be honest. Robinson maybe from Fulham maybe would be a good shout, but yeah, we'll just have to see.
One's a big fan of him as well.
Yeah, although I think Liverpool's left back's going to be sorted. But I do think Romero will leave still. That's the one thing I would say.
Yeah. Well, so if Romero would leave, it's a big one, but I'd go for Ta.
Oh, Jonathan Ta.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think he's agreed to move to Bayern Munich.
Leverkusen at the minute seem to be getting raided by Liverpool as well. So we're not going to win other players. But is that the next thing now you look forward to, the transfer window, and seeing who comes on to improve the squad?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest, not just for Spurs, but to see the players in the Prem coming around, to see who we be facing, who like Porro, Udogie, them kind of players would be marking the tacky wingers. But like same time, you would like to see what players for Spurs would be playing against. So, like for Spurs new signings, to see what can they cope with the Premier League's defense. But yeah, I think it'll be a good summer transfer window.
Yeah, top man, Kaelin. It's been great having you on. We're going to be seeing more of you next season, plenty. Before you go, make sure to shout out your Instagram channel again so people know where to find you.
Yeah, I do. Instagram channel, please follow me. Thank you. It's Pitch Perfect 16. Thank you.
Good man.
Top man, Kaelin. Come on, you
Thank
Spurs
you.
always.
Guys, bye.
Bye. Good lad. Good lad.
Oh, brilliant. What an interview that was there. One we did say, I did say that he was very insightful. What did you make of that?
Oh, it's great. It's great. Like football. That's what football's all about. Like growing up, watching your team win trophies, and he's very. What age did you say? Is 9, 10? So for that young to be that knowledgeable is it's very good. It's good to see. So it was good to get a wee chat with.
Yeah. We've talked enough about Spurs, Owen, so let's move on and discuss Man United, because they had rock bottom, as Gary Neville says, on Wednesday night, he says losing to Spurs in a final is bad enough, but he says the ramifications of where it leaves us is even worse. You know, it's going to be a 16th or 17th place finish by the looks of things.
They have no money.
No European football of any sort next year, and a big blow in terms of their financials, in terms of not qualifying for the Champions League, which they could have done if they beat Spurs. So, I mean, is this where now it really is desperation time? If you're a Man United fan, if you're a Man United player, a Man United coach, you're part of that board. Can it get any worse than this?
Well, it can with relegation, but I don't think that'll ever happen. So, I don't. And I seen yesterday, didn't they sack more staff?
Yeah, more staff have went out the door. Not even like directly after the final, there was more staff just made redundant.
I don't know what's going on, and we'll speak about it. But yes, this probably is in my lifetime. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying every minute of it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm loving life. But as if I'm speaking as a it's mental to see they're being run like a National League club. Like how can a club? I've seen like they got what 3 million or 5 million, sorry, for getting in the final, and they have to pay 3 million of that to Chelsea for Mason Mount. Like
Yeah, Chelsea actually made more money from United getting to the final than United did, which is crazy.
They still owe. I was reading yesterday. They still owe 300 million to teams for transfers. They still owe. They still have to pay Dortmund stuff for Sancho, and they don't even want him. It's just a mess. And since Sir Jim's come in, it's just got worse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of people blaming other people. I mean, who do you think ultimately is responsible for the demise of Manchester United Football Club? Because there's been a lot of people saying, there was no structure in place after Ferguson left. Ferguson left in a bit of a mess, really, with the squad that he left. Then there's been directors like Ed Woodward have been blamed. The owners have been blamed, the Glazers, and now people are blaming Ineos. People are actually blaming Bruno Fernandes sometimes. So everybody seems to be getting the blame somewhere along the line. Who do you think ultimately is the main culprit in this disaster that United have now found themselves on?
It has to be the Glazers, doesn't it? It has to be, because they're they're about. They bought them on debt. They take out dividends every year. I don't know if they still do, but they did for a long time. Like, they've owned them now since 2004, was it?
Yeah.
So it's a long, like, that's what 25 20 odd years ago, like. So
yeah.
it's and since they've come on, it's just been toxic all the way around. It's just been protests after protest. You seen with the Super League, that's when it really intensified. And I think United fans got excited when Qatar were interested in buying them because they thought, right, they'll come in, they'll wipe out the debt, and we'll start afresh. But Jim Ratcliffe got into bed with them, and as I said, since then it's just got. He's been on what now? A year, 18 months,
Yeah, and there's been a
and
lot of decisions made that haven't worked out. You think about the issue with Dan Ashworth. That was a comedy show in terms of he was, they paid all
yeah,
up, wanted to get him, and then
and
sacked him a few months later.
and then the staff redundancies. They didn't pay for Ruben Amram had to pay for the staff and friends and family to go to the final because uh they I think there was something about the club legends as well. They removed their funding from they removed funding from that, wasn't it? I think something.
Yeah.
So
It just seems like it's a bit of a disaster in terms of how it's being
and
run. I
then
think people expected anything else to have a positive impact, but I just think it's probably got worse since they've come on.
but then when you're reading up on anything else too, the other team that they own in France, they're not big fans of them either.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
the recruit the
go ahead,
recruitment
sorry.
the recruitment too has been awful. Like when's the last player United bought that you thought, right, this is gonna be a big this is gonna be big for them?
Yeah,
Like
you
it's
probably have to go back to Bruno Fernandes.
I and even when he came on, he wasn't a superstar. He came on day
If
one.
you go if you go before that, you'd probably say Pogba, but he didn't really light
Man,
up. He didn't do, he was more trouble than he was worth. But
like
as
they've
you say, that the money they've been spending recently, the big money for the likes of Anthony and Hoyland, 160 million on two players we never really heard of, and those have both been a disaster.
well, Andy's rubbing it up in bed at the minute, and Hoyland. It looks like Hoyland's going to be shipped out in the summer, and then you have the whole Sancho debacle. You have the whole thing with Greenwood that happened. It's just I know that's not in their control, but it's just everything just seems to be bad PR at the minute around United.
Yeah, with all those things that you mentioned, the one, are you starting to think now that this job's too big for him? Mentally, can he cope with it? Because, it's not just after the final. In the lead up to the final, after many games this year, he's criticised the players, he's criticised the club, he's criticised himself,
Yeah.
and he's even offered to say they'll walk away if they want. Mentally, do you think he's in a really, really bad place at the moment? And, and is he in the right shape of mind to be leading this club forward?
At the minute, you would have to say no. Like some jobs are too big for certain managers. Like we seen when Ten Hag got the job. Yes, he started to stabilize a bit, but towards the end, it just it just went. And what was it? What and it was he criticized Garnacho the other night after the final because Garnacho came out and said, "I don't know why I'm only playing 20 minutes." And then he said, "I think Amram said something like, well, he must have a big chance in the semi final." So it from top to bottom, owners, the players, the coaches, it just doesn't seem it's just not a good place to
I
work.
think that incident should kind of paints the story of the United dressing room that Amram hasn't got control
Yeah,
over it, and those players,
yeah.
are erratic in their performances and erratic in their behaviour, and it just seems like it's one big mess. The issue being is if they do part ways with Amram, I don't think it'll be this summer, but if they have a poor start to next season, I think the pressure's going to be really on them. But the
But
the bit is they've been down
then you're
this
stuck
road
with
before.
then you're stuck with say Amram brings on I don't know, say Amram sells Rashford and Garnacho and brings on players they should have a system, then someone else comes in and goes, oh, here I could have done with Garnacho or Rashford and I don't want, couldn't you? So
Yeah.
so and as you said,
Well, and as
they've
you say, they've been down this road before. So again, sacking Amram and bringing a new man in may not be the answer. Um, I just don't know where United go at the moment. European football, when you've got six other English teams in the Champions League, I know they're Man United, but looking at United at the minute, it's a bit of a circus. I'm not sure why anyone would be picking going there over some of the other options available. It looks like Cunha's going there, but again, Cunha's an hour fiery player. He's fallen out of Atletico Madrid. He's fallen out of Wolves. Now we know he's a quality player, but I just wonder if putting him into that dressing room is the right decision.
and obviously they're looking for Liam Delap as well, and Liam Delap is at a decent season at Ipswich, but going from Ipswich to Man United, like, is he going to be the striker that fires him the top four, top five? I don't think so. And you see that already because Everton are on from as well. So I think that's the level of Liam Delap at the moment. Like they've done, and that's how bad United are at the moment. They can't bend the wrist for the likes of Gyökeres or Isak or Alvarez
Yeah.
or whoever else. So they have to go for a Liam Delap or someone younger, but they've done that already with Hoyland and Xerxes, and they haven't worked out.
Yeah, I just it's a penny for Amram's kind of real thoughts because I do think behind closed doors he's very upset and very angry about the situation that he's been in, and
And as
I
like,
just wonder if it needs a manager with more experience. They sort of navigate United through this period, because I think Gary Neville's right. You know, they're a million miles off winning the league or doing anything close to that, so it's going to be a long way back. So it may be that different managers are required to kind of get them back. You know, you think about
yeah,
Liverpool with Brendan Rodgers. You know, he inherited a bit of a mess. He got them competitive, didn't have enough to get them over the line. Klopp comes in, builds an even better team, takes a bit of time to get over the line, and then he gets them over the line, and they won plenty of trophies. And now Slot comes in, probably get the right balance in terms of how to go about it, and needs no
yeah,
time at all. But the ingredients are already put in place for Liverpool to be winners. I think that's where United are at the
yeah.
moment. It's going to take maybe 3 or 4 managers. They have that impact before they maybe see proper success again in terms of league trophies or Champions League. But at the
They're
moment,
on,
they just need to navigate this period. I think Gary Neville says mid-table next year will be a decent season.
like it's not. It's they should for me. They shouldn't be looking at Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. They should be looking at Forest, Chelsea, Villa, Spurs, Brighton, like all them
Yeah.
teams. That's their level at the minute.
Yeah. Oh, and we did speak about this with no European football, how difficult it's going to be for Man United. And look,
Yeah,
we're going to find exactly how many teams are going to be in Europe come
tomorrow.
next week. Yeah, well, tomorrow, but we'll also, depending on where Chelsea finish, there could be an all-European team. And if Chelsea won the league next Wednesday, I
That's right
believe if
there.
Chelsea finish in a Europa League spot and won next Wednesday, eighth place will then qualify for Europa League too. So,
Who's
um,
eighth at the minute? Brighton, is it?
Brighton, but I think Brentford can also get there as well. So, but so I mean, there could be 8 or 9 teams in European competition, which is going to make it very difficult for United to to navigate through this period. But
Yeah.
uh, how many years do you think it could take them to possibly get back to kind of like a team that can compete even for a Europa League spot? Because if you remember last year, they actually qualified for revival in the FA Cup. So it's been 2 seasons now they haven't finished in a European League position.
Yeah. Um, do you mean qualify for it or just compete for it?
Not just qualify for a Europa League spot or Conference League spot.
I'm gonna. Uh, I'll say 2-3 years, maybe.
Yeah. Interesting. Owen, we did just say it there. The final day of the season on Sunday. All games kick off at 4 p.m. Now, we have seen more exciting final days, but there is plenty of excitement around the race
Yeah,
for
it's
the
gonna be
Champions League.
exciting. It's good. It's gonna be exciting for me regardless. I'm gonna be buzzing.
Yeah, lots of. But usually you've got teams fighting for a league title or teams maybe trying to stay up, but it's kind of just Champions League on the line here and possibly Europa League spots. They deal with on Sunday. So like Owen says, for United fans, or for Liverpool fans and Spurs fans and Crystal Palace fans, Newcastle to a certain extent, but I'm sure they'll want to get over the line for Champions League as well. But they've all had success this year. Yeah, Newcastle could go one better and actually qualify for the Champions League as well. So, Owen, we're just going to start in alphabetical order our predictions for these games, and we'll try and call out the league table here as well. So the ones that mean
Yeah.
more. Bournemouth against Leicester. Owen. Leicester, of course, are already relegated. And Bournemouth, I think, have just ran out of steam completely. And for a team that was possibly fighting for a Champions League spot, they're not even going to finish in a Europa Conference League spot. How disappointing do you think that these last sort of 10 games have been for Bournemouth? Because, when they were flying in that January, February, kind of up until Liverpool beat them in March, they were like on an unbelievable run where they won like 7 of the last 8 games. And kind of fell apart since the international break. How disappointed do you think they'll be, and how much of an opportunity have they missed?
I think they will be very disappointed because you see how open from what 10th they about 7th 6th is. So I think for how well they did, as you say, because I remember when they did playoffs, uh, they were unbeaten, and I was going into it thinking it'll be a tough game away to Bournemouth. But as you say, ever since we've beat them, I think they've only won. And then there was that Spurs game; they were 2-0 up, and let that slip as well. So I think they've only won as it's 3 games or something. I know they haven't won that many, but they'll be disappointed, and it's a big summer for them because they're losing Hojsund to Real Madrid. They're possibly losing Kirkes to Liverpool. It remains to be seen what happens to the likes of what do you call him, Semenyo. So
Manu's
and the
heavily
Mali,
linked with Man United at the moment, but
I would rather
I
stay
won't
at
get into
Bournemouth. I'd rather stay at Bournemouth than go to United at the minute. But in terms of and Leicester, as you say, they're already down, and you seen the news this week that they could be helped with points deductions going into the championship. So it's going to be a tricky summer for Leicester. But in
how
terms of this,
difficult do you think it's going to be for Leicester to repeat what they did last year? Because when they went down, I think a lot of people thought that they had a better squad than a relegated team. You think about the likes of Madison and Barnes, Vardy, Iheanacho. But they were able to sell certain players. They get generate a lot of money. They bring players on. You think they got money, good money for Madison and good money for Barnes. They bought in the likes of Harry Winks, and Dewsbury Hall was still there. And Oliver Skipp's come. So they were able to bring players on. I'm not so sure they've got the same type of player they sell now
no,
to generate cash. They bring new players on. So do you think it's going to be a lot more difficult for Leicester to bounce straight back?
especially if they get these points deductions that they're talking about, or fines
Yeah.
or transfer bans, I don't think Leicester will come back up next season.
Interesting. What's your score prediction
Uh,
for this game?
uh 2-0 Bournemouth.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Bournemouth. Fulham against Man City. Now, Fulham are another team just above Bournemouth in the table by 1 point, but are 4 points crucially behind Brighton, so therefore cannot catch Brighton in 8th. And that's a really, really bitter pill to swallow because, like Bournemouth,
Yeah.
Fulham fans have said they've had a great season, but they've just come up short, and inconsistency in the second part of the season has cost Fulham. You think about the amount of drop points against lower bottom half teams they've had at home. Like you think about some of Fulham's results, they get 4 points against Liverpool, but then there was other teams at home.
They drew with
should have.
Southampton.
Yeah, they drew with Southampton, they drew Ipswich at home, and that was
Yeah.
really, really crucial to why they just missed out. So, how disappointed do you think Fulham fans will be as well? That's close but no cigar.
Again, like I think it's the same as Bournemouth. We say this every season. Like Fulham 1 week could play Liverpool and beat them, and then play Burnley next week, the next week, and then they'll lose to them. So they need to find that consistency. I don't know if Marco Silva feels that he's taken as far as he can, and whether he wants a new challenge.
Yeah. Do you think this is as
So
good as it could possibly get for Fulham and Bournemouth? Do you think next season it's going to be a lot harder for those teams? They repeat what they've done this year and also try to get better? Do you think it's going to be more likely that next year there'll be a regression?
you would think so because, as I say, Bournemouth are going to lose a few players. You would think Fulham are going to lose Robinson. You would think, but you never know. Like you see, my Palace, they're 11th, 12th. They've won the FA Cup, so a cup run can really, as you know yourself, can save your season. So, but in terms of Fulham, they will be disappointed. And speaking of disappointed, Man City will be very disappointed with their efforts this season as well. I know they're going to finish third or fourth, but that's not what they want.
Yeah, well, it's not a foregone conclusion knowing that they are going to have to get at least a draw in this game. A Fulham won and Man City's fit would be out of their own hands. They would then require all teams to do them a favour. And we know Fulham have got themselves up for big games before, but I mean, this is not a gimme for Man City. Nothing easy. They struggled. They drew with Southampton in their last away game. So it's not a foregone conclusion, but they are heavy favourites. They get their Champions League spot. How do you see this going? Because at the moment, Man City are in third place on 68 points. Newcastle in fourth place on 66. Chelsea in fifth place on 66. Villa in sixth place on 66 points. And Forest in seventh place on 65.
64.
Now, crucially, Man City have the best goal difference, plus 26. Newcastle plus 22. Chelsea plus 20. Aston Villa plus 9. And Forest plus 13. So, I mean, it's very tight up there. But, you know, how do you see it going in this game? Do you think Man City will do enough to secure their place?
I'm going to go 2-1 Man City.
Yeah, I'm just going to say
Although if they don't, and Fulham won, I will. If Fulham do manage to win and City are playing Europa League next season, I will laugh my head off.
Yeah, I do think just the experience will get them over the line, and they know how important it is to win the Champions League. So, you know, if they needed to win this game, it would be a different story. But I think the fact that they can draw it with their goal difference, they're not going to be caught. Villa can only get to 69, and they are. Well, we know Man United's in a mess, but I don't think Villa will beat them 17 goals. So I think they'll be safe for a draw. So I'm going to say, but Man City are going to get the job done as well. I'm going to say Man City, they won 1-0.
1-0, one goal on it there. I agree.
Yeah, so Ipswich versus West Ham, kind of one of the dead rubbers of the last day. Ipswich down in 19th, probably where a lot of people would have had them. I don't know how disappointed their fans will be, but I think they will just probably have been grateful for the experience. You know, it's been tough for the three promoted teams. You know, they've finished an absolute country mile behind, you know, like the Spurs and Man United who've struggled. So I don't think you can have any complaints. They just haven't been good enough, Ipswich.
No, they can't. Neither, and West Ham are a team too that are lucky that the bottom three have been that bad, because they could have been dragged into it. But out of the three promoted teams this season that came up, I think Ipswich are the best place to come back up again. I know they're going to lose the lap, but they have some talented players there, like for championship level. But in terms of this game, I don't know. I'll just go 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that Ipswich are going to sign off at 1. I'm going to say 2-1 Ipswich.
3-1 Ipswich.
Liverpool against Crystal Palace. A lot of people will have their eyes on this, as you know, the result's pretty irrelevant, as both teams have had success and both teams are actually having a parade the next day. So I don't really know how much the players will be up for this, but we know Liverpool at home, they'll be up for the celebrations after. And maybe it's the perfect opponent, and the fact that Crystal Palace, you know, they've had their moment in the cup final. It's now time for Liverpool to have their moment with the fans in front of the trophy. You looking forward to this, Owen, tomorrow?
I'm buzzing. You'll see videos of me on Facebook tomorrow with tears in my eyes. I'm telling you. As you said, I reckon Palace should just bring the FA Cup with them. We should just sack off a game, just have a party. No, I'm gonna go for this game. I'll go 3-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, I want to speak about these two teams a little bit more. But Crystal Palace, Owen, you know, Oliver Glasner has come into his future, it seems, by saying that he's not ready to leave Palace. He wants to stay. So that's a great sign for Palace, because he has been linked with our clubs.
Do you think
impressed with Glasner, because it was a difficult start to the season, but the second half of the season they've been really, really good, and they beat Man City and beat Aston Villa. They won the FA Cup at Wembley. Yeah. Was fantastic.
Yeah, as you say, it was a tough start for him. I think, wasn't it around October time there was murmurings of him getting sacked, but the owners, Steve Parish, back into the hull, and he's been proven right. Then fair play to Palace. It's their first trophy ever in their history, and obviously it's going to be their first time in Europe. So fair play to them, and I'm looking forward to see what they do in the summer. And will that mean they'll keep the likes of Eze now? Because it'll be harder to get him out of Palace and Mateta, because why would Mateta say go to Man United when he's going to be playing European football? So
Yeah, and I also
think it's
think
going to
these
be a good
players.
season.
I think these players will be looking at the Spurs and Man United thing, thinking, look at those two teams who made the final last year. Palace battered Spurs a
Yeah.
few weeks ago. Now I know you could say that Spurs weren't really playing for anything. But Palace did have an FA Cup final a few days before, after that. So Palace might look at that and
Yeah.
think, well, if that was the standard in the competition last year, then we could have a really good cup run.
Yeah. Then why not go and try and win it and get in the Champions League next year? Palace in the Champions League would be madness. Could you picture Selhurst Park in the Champions League night? That would be mad. But no, it's a great
Yeah.
season for Palace, and Glasner's done a great job.
Yeah, and Liverpool, Owen, have been in the news this week as well. It looks like they are acting very early in this transfer market. Frimpong looks to be very, very close, if not completely done. Kerkez has been linked as well, and that seems to be, quite far down the line. And now it looks like the wheels in motion for Florian Wirtz. I mean, what would it be like if they could sign those three players early in the transfer market? And would that give you much more confidence going into the next season that this isn't just a one-off? We can go on and win it back to back.
Oh, I'm not used to this because normally I'm sitting summers mid July going FSG out, but no, if we can get these three deals done and then ship a few players out and then see what else we can do. I don't want to sound like meats here, but why not why not go back to back next year? Like if we're it seems like the owners are very serious this summer, and it's good to see as a fan getting a player like Verts. I know he's young. I know it's going to be a big step coming to the Prem, but from all accounts in Germany, he's top player. So, and you see with the likes of Bayern Munich and Man City in for him, and he chose Liverpool. That shows where we're going. And
Yeah.
we need a squad.
Score
And we
prediction for
need
this
a
game, like he
squad.
says, 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1. And I was going to say there too. We need a squad that can compete for Prem, Champions League, and all the other competitions. But I 3-1 in this game.
Yeah. 3-1. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Liverpool one. Man United taking on Aston Villa. And I mean, we've spoken a lot about Man United. I mean, Villa could not have hoped
It'll
for
be
a better end of
interesting.
the season in terms of having Spurs and United back to back.
It'll be interesting. The atmosphere at Old Trafford on Sunday. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be very, very quiet because there is nothing to look
Yeah.
forward to. And, Villa are a very good team. And Villa will not believe their luck in terms of how those fixtures have fell for them. And Villa had a lot of catching up to do. And, I think it's, they couldn't have picked a better game here, and for this final game. And
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance if they won it, they're going to make it. And I mean, I think they're an absolute shoe, and to be honest, they won this game.
I agree. I'm gonna go mad. I'm gonna go 4-0 Villa. I think United's players will just
Just
be
go for it.
down and
Yeah, I'm just going to go through the thing. Villa technically still need a favour, but if they won it, it would require Chelsea to beat Forest, and we're going to come on to talk about that game soon. But that's no gimme. So I think Villa will definitely believe if they can win this game, they've got a really, really good chance of making them that top five. But they couldn't have done much more than they have in the final weeks of the season. They've been in great form, and if they do miss out, it'll be their early season form cost them.
if Forest won, do they get in there?
Forest won. Forest would have to win and hope results go for them. It's not in Forest's hands.
So what results would they need? They would need.
They would need Villa, I think. They would need. Obviously, they would have the result against Chelsea, but I think they would also need Villa. They not win as well because they're a point behind Villa.
Would Chelsea be out of it? I think they would, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah.
That's
Well,
what I want
Forest
to
beat
happen.
Chelsea or Chelsea beat Forest. Yeah, and a draw doesn't do much for Forest either. They're going to have to win. Draw might be enough for Chelsea if Villa don't get a result. So I think it's all on Forest. Prediction for this game, you're going 4-0 Villa. I'm going to go 2-0 Villa.
As long as Chelsea aren't done it by Sunday, I'll be happy.
Newcastle against Everton. We spoke about teams that need results. Newcastle are another team that will want to ensure their place in next year's Champions League. They are the team at the moment in third. I think they're in third place.
Yeah.
Let me see here. No, sorry, Newcastle are in fourth position, 2 points behind
Man
Man
City.
City. So, yeah, so Newcastle are in fourth place ahead of Chelsea by 2 goals, same points, and a +2 better goal difference. So, again, Newcastle will know the importance of getting 3 points here, Owen.
Yeah, I think regardless of what happens, I think Newcastle will win. I can't see them dropping out, but I'm going to go
I think we'll
because
just be glad that
Everton.
this game's at St James's Park and not at Goodison.
I was just going to say because Everton had their moment last week with their final home game at Goodison before they moved to their new ground. But I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle 1.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-1 Newcastle 1 as well. And I think they'll be okay. Nottingham Forest against Chelsea, Owen. Two teams playing against each other that are going for that prize of Champions League football. We've said there the Forest need a 1, really, and they need a favour then somewhere. Chelsea, we know a 1 for them will be enough to get into that Champions League spot. But I mean, let's talk about Forest, because if it comes to 6 o'clock on Friday or on Sunday, and Forest have missed out on that Champions League, they were the team that was in the position of most strength a number of weeks ago, but just a really bad turn of form and results. They'll be devastated about no Champions League football.
I know they'll be saying that, but nobody expected us to qualify for Europe at all. Everyone expected us to be relegated, but sorry, keepers. I'm getting choked up talking about Forest here. No, but I think they will be disappointed because of the strong position that they were in. But if you look at their results from recent weeks, a draw last week a draw last week with West Ham. Hold on, who did no?
They beat West Ham.
They drew last week. They beat West.
They beat West Ham. They beat West Ham last week, but they did draw away Leicester.
Oh, they
did lose to Brentford, both at home.
So it was.
And they drew Crystal Palace.
Post Christmas, they've been up and down. So I think that's all. That will cost them That's what will cost them if they don't get this one. But will it be seen as a successful season? Probably still, but I think if they don't get the Champions League, they'll be good at it.
Yeah, and Chelsea, of course, haven't played in the Champions League for a number of years now. A massive game for them, and they're another team that financially could do with being in the Champions League.
Because they've spent astronomically over the last few years. This is a tough one they call. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1. Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw as well.
So does that mean Chelsea are out of it then?
Well, it would depend what happens in the Villa game, wouldn't it? But if Villa it would be, if it's going by our results, it's going to be Man City, Newcastle, and Villa. So that'll be both teams play out of the draw, and they're sitting there both out of the Champions League. There's going to be a really poor atmosphere in that stadium. But look, all Forest can do is look at the likes of what's happened with Spurs and Palace and Newcastle and think maybe it's our time as well. And if they won, then somebody might do them a favour somewhere else, but we'll see. And this is a complete dead rubber. Southampton can't finish any higher than 20th, and Arsenal can't move from second place. So nothing really on the line here. This will be the type of game Arsenal turn up and probably blitz them.
I'll go 3-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-0 Arsenal one as well. It's been a tough season for Arsenal, in terms of they've seen all these teams won trophies that aren't used to winning. They're now starting to get into that phase where they're going to start speaking about Arsenal not winning a trophy because, it's 2020. Next season's the 2025, 2026. So you can't win anything now until 2026 because we know the first final isn't in March next year. So, all of a sudden you start getting into that period of, well, Arsenal haven't won anything for a long time. So, he thinks what's happened with Newcastle and Palace, and especially their North London rivals, Spurs, there's even more pressure on Arsenal next year to deliver some sort of silverware for their fans.
I've said it all season. Next year. He has to win one of the big two. It's all well and good winning. No disrespect to the cup competition, but for Arsenal, they spend all that money and end up with just a League Cup or a FA Cup. They need one of the big two, and if they don't get one of the big two, then he has to go. Simple as that for me.
Yeah, I think that's the feeling that a lot of Arsenal fans have at the moment. That we've let this run on and run on. That next season it has to be different.
And
North
Arteta.
Party. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Arteta's coming out in the media too with all these excuses. And Slot said yesterday, I don't know if you've seen it. Slot said yesterday, excuses are for teams who don't win leagues, and I'm going, I love that man.
Yeah, that's it. Spurs were in party mode yesterday in front of their fans in the North London, in front of that big parade, where we says over 200,000 Spurs fans were there. It was a real party atmosphere. And I guarantee on Sunday there'll be fans still in party mode. I'm sure the players will be parading that trophy around pre-game and post-game. Brighton, like we said, this is a big game for them. It's in their own hands. If Brighton can get that victory against Spurs, or even a draw, I think it's a draw. Sorry, I think a draw against Spurs.
I think it's a draw.
Yeah, a draw for Brighton would secure that 8th spot and a route back into Europe. Of course, they played in Europe last season, and it would give them an opportunity of redoing that experience with their fans. So, but like they are game on, I think this is a good game for Brighton, because I know United will be down and miserable, but Spurs players have been on the sauce, I think, for the last few days. I'm not sure what kind of shape they're going to be in, and I think Spurs fans won't really care if they get beat here. So, I mean, it's a great game for Brighton to have.
And you know what? Because of Spurs being probably drunk out for the last 72 hours, I would say, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brighton one.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same. Brighton, they won by 2 goals, they won. And of course, if that is the case, then the Brentford game is meaningless. But if Spurs can do them a favour, Brentford, a win here could possibly get them on the Europe for their first time as well. But Brentford have had so many near misses, and unfortunately, even with the goal difference here, there's 3 or 4 goals on it. I think it's going to be extremely difficult, even if Spurs do beat Brighton. It's going to be quite difficult for Brentford to do this. I think they'd have to win by 3 goals and hope that Spurs won. Or if Spurs get won by a couple of goals, then it would help them out. But I think there's too many variables here. I think it's going to be very difficult. But I'm sure Thomas Frank will tell them to believe. And I think, believe it or not, I think this will be their second time in the last 3 seasons of just missing out.
It will be, because I think they missed out not last season, but the season before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
As you say, there's too many if and buts for this one, but I'm actually going to go for a draw here. I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think it'll be quite entertaining. But Owen, that is it for the podcast today. We will be back on Monday with our final podcast of the season. We'll be looking back at the final day, of course, how the league table finished, what it means for certain teams, and our team of the season and our awards as well for the player of the season will be done then as well. I
wonder who the player of the season is going to be. There's nothing. I wonder who that's going to be.
I'll have to have a think over the weekend. I'm not sure. Enjoy the celebrations tomorrow. Enjoy Liverpool lifting the league in front of their fans, and enjoy the parade on Monday. And we will do the final podcast of the season as well. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend, everyone, and we'll see you very soon. If you're looking for a football fix today, I believe the La Liga final day is on, but also one of the biggest games in the English football calendar is the championship playoff final between Sheffield United and Sunderland. Massive game at 3 o'clock today.
How do you see that going?
Well, I think Sheffield United are possibly a better team, but my heart's with Sunderland. I love Sunderland to do it.
Well, so would I just can't stick Sheffield United being in the Prem.
Yeah, I think Sunderland are another team as well where just been starved of success and to get back into the Premier League as well. If there's any season that's going to happen, it's going to be this one for them.
It's going to be this one. It definitely is. But I hope they do it anyway because I would love to see Sunderland and Newcastle games next season in the Prem.
Yeah, the class. Well, Owen, thanks very much. If you're new around here, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. Also, big shout out to Kaelan. He was on there earlier on talking about Spurs. And you can follow his Instagram channel as well, Pitch Perfect 16. But thank you, Owen, top man.
No bother. Cheers.